squeeze it.
Yes.
Wire.
Nice. This is a real throwing tool, and I'm going to show you how to use it.
Do you want to sit down?
No.
This piece here, what I'm going to do is for the trimming tomorrow, I will come in and trim it. Roz will videotape it and post it. Okay?
Yep.
So you can learn how to make
Is it okay to have a?
what?
Did I just unplug something needed, or is it the bar not turned on?
The bar's not on.
There's no light on the bar.
Something's unplugged. Check the wall. Okay, say.
The light came on anyway.
Follow.
Change the. This is a brand new one, so they changed a little bit. Okay, so. I tried to put it on. You want a nice round ball, no grooves or crevices in the clay. Okay, you want it on there nice and steady, nice and firm. Your wheel head should be relatively dry, but if you're pulling pieces off and working on it, it's going to get wet anyway. A little bit of water to start.
How does your pedal work?
So pushing right down to the floor this way
At the back. Okay.
is off. Pushing out that way is on.
Okay.
This wheel can go really fast. You don't want to go all the way. You want about half speed for centering. And that's the fastest you will ever go.
I think that's.
Okay, that's the fastest
Just
you
tell
will
her your
ever
knife is right on
go.
the end of the table.
You do not want too much water. See how the water is splaying out? When I put a little bit of water on the clay, at 5 o'clock I wipe my wheel. When I learned how to throw, I wasn't allowed to use a splash pan. So we were walking home with our pants just completely soaking wet. So you're allowed? I'm just saying. So, now, okay. Warm water in your bucket. This hand cups. Your thumb meets your pointer finger. I'm showing you right-handed right now, throwing. If you're left-handed, it's going to take some time to figure out what works for you, because sometimes left-handed is actually ambidextrous on the wheel. Okay? So, I'm cupping. I'm bracing myself. My foot is off the pedal because you do not want to change your speed. You want to keep it as a stable speed. So here I am. I'm squeezing with this hand. I'm pushing down a little bit. And it's a lot of pressure. Right hand starts to come in, pushing down. Remember how I said that little cushy part? Your hand facing down. Not this. It's this. And that cushy part sits right here. Sorry, Ken. You're good, Ken. I was having a freak out about the bat pins.
Yes.
That's too big. Is that the one that was there?
Yeah, that one's too big. See, you'd rip your hands apart if those were on there, right?
Yeah.
So, grass hut, stage 1. Plays on there nice and tight. See my point. You gotta always keep your eye on the point. That's the center of your wheel. The goal is to center. So you're gonna squeeze your left hand to start your cone. I got pressure coming this way. So now I have to meet it on the other side. Cleaning it up. Not letting too much water get there. This hand's tucking in, so I got pressure this way. Now this is coming in. I'm doing this so your pressure is this way, right? Once you bring your pressure in, it has nowhere to go but up. My hands are moving quite slowly up to meet that tip and create that point. So that's the beginning parts of my cone. Next one. Your positioning sitting on the wheel is really important. You have to be able to anchor your hands. You guys, core strength is really important. It's your core, right? And again, you feel this in your whole body. Like if I hold this, like if the clay is pushing me and it's not centered, sometimes you'll see my body go like this, you know? You can't open a piece until it's completely centered. Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Oh, silly gals. Couldn't figure it out. We did pretty good. What can you do when you don't have the tools? It's about the tools.
So what's the purpose of squishing it back down?
So you're working the clay, is that
You're
right?
working the clay.
So it's
Remember
what it does. So it's basically wedging it.
on the wheel. You're
Okay.
aligning those particles in a spiral
Okay.
motion to help with the lifting.
Okay.
This looks like it would take a lot of practice.
It does. That's why, you're not going to get a whole lot out of this time, out of a weekend anyway.
No.
The most important part is to see a demonstration and have it explained. Then you got to come back and practice and try it. So here I go. I'm going to squeeze this again to start with my left hand. My thumb always stays to the left of the point. Starting at the bottom, coming up. It's
Look, you're applying a lot of it.
I'm applying a lot.
Yeah?
It's a lot of strength. You need good muscles in your arms. You start to develop them, and in your fingers too.
It's so relaxing to watch. That could almost put you in a trance.
This is not the end. This is just the beginning, ladies. I'm gonna come back, and then when I come back, you'll have hand building down to a pat. It's all important because the real magic starts happening when you start combining wheel throwing and hand building and cutting and altering and surface decoration. You make real dynamic pots. When you start cutting and altering wheel thrown pieces, and the cutting and altering knowledge comes from that, what we did this weekend. So this is my last brass hut. So I just went through those steps over a second time, right? So this is the last one now. 10-second hold, which I forgot to write in there. The final grass hut before you open. Step number 5. This is it. You gotta hold. So I'm gonna show you something now. Look at the difference. This is centered. I put my finger here. It's hardly even moving. There's a stillness. An uncentered piece looks like this. This is your test. Okay?
Yeah.
You can only open it when it's centered. It will be extremely difficult to open and get volume and get walls on a pot if it's not centered.
So how do you recenter it?
My 10-second hold, and that whole coning and everything, 10-second hold without a movement. Release your pressure so gradually because you got a lot of weight and a lot of pressure on that pot, and if you move away just quickly, it's going to knock it right out of center. We're going to do some Skype videos from the studio. Okay? You could set your thing up right there, right in front, and I'll walk you through it. We can have you present with us in the other studio. Gently remove. So you can keep going back until you feel that it's there. And do your test. See how clean my wheel is? Still as can be. Now I can open it. Butterfly fingers. My hands are never moving all over the place like Demi Moore. They're always together. Always. They're working together. Locked in. Body, like core engaged. So butterfly fingers. This wraps around again. This is very typical for the left hand to be wrapped around. I'm going to come down and see that point. I always keep a point. I'm not going to see this here. Do not go down if the clay has taken your finger. You always want it kind of slippery, the clay. You want to hold your finger still. Don't let the clay take it. And go straight down. See how the clay has not taken my finger? If the clay takes your finger and you're doing, do not go down. Just pull back and start again. You don't want to go right down to the bottom. You just want to go down so far. There's an air bubble in there. But I took all that hard clay and mixed it up. Don't do that. So I'm going to measure. This is about how thick I've got my bottom. It's just under a centimeter. Any thicker than that, you're going to have some problems with drying. And you need a little bit to trim off. We'll do a demo of trimming on the video, okay? This pot, I'll trim this pot tomorrow. So now that I know, make sure you got your wheel off when you do that. Now that there's a hole in it, you can turn down the speed just a little bit, okay? So again, you notice that balance of pressure, speed, and water is really important. Butterfly fingers again. My top finger goes on top of, my pointer finger, this finger goes on top of the middle finger to give it strength so that it's not moving around. This finger is flimsy compared to this one, which has 2 knuckles on each side. I'm holding on and I'm going to gently pull across the wheel at 6 o'clock towards my left knee. Straight across, okay? Gently release. I'm going to compress the bottom. After I get it open to this point, I'm going to start working on the right-hand side. If you're left-handed, every single step that I'm doing now would be the opposite for you, opposite sides, because your wheel will be going the opposite direction, okay? If it feels right. Put a little bit of water, clean up my wheel. Now I'm going to this is a little trick now. I'm going to take my thumb, I'm going to link in. I'm going to take my inside finger, I'm going to take my knuckle and create a nice straight wall outside, just a very subtle movement. Not anything drastic. There's never a drastic movement, ever. Always take my sponge on top. This is a really nice clay body for throwing on the wheel. Butterfly fingers are working on the right-hand side. See how I've got my fingers positioned, the 2 pointers on top of the middle fingers. And I'm going to sandwich down. Initially, my finger's going to slip down by the wheel head. Gather up a little bit of clay, bring it up and meet to where the inside finger is sitting on the inside part. And then they meet and come up together. Nice and slow. And gently release on your ring. Butterfly fingers. directly across from each other. There's nothing else touching that clay, only those two fingers, creating a path right between here. And that's what's keeping it. You want to move up even because you want even walls. Gently release. Compress your rim. Compression of the rim is just holding the rim, not letting the pressure transfer into the wall because you want that to stay straight. You just want to compress your rim a little bit. That's why you hold it, to prevent the pressure from going down into the wall. My throwing instructor came in and did a demonstration, hardly said a word, and walked out and said, "Go to it." Our first project was 20 cylinders, 10 inches high. And I said, "You meant 10 centimeters, right?" And she was like, "Nope." And we were not allowed to use a splash pan. And we had one night to do it. We were all there until 4 a.m. for class, ready for class for 1 o'clock the next day. And each one of us may have had one cylinder that actually hit our goal. Okay, so starting at the bottom, collecting the clay, and gently moving up, nice and slow and gentle. Release around the rim. If you use too much water, it gets very goopy down around the bottom, and that clay that you're creating, that slurry, does nothing, only ends up being a bit of a pain, you know? It's kind of annoying that it makes it so slippery. Eventually your walls will get tall enough where you can barely have contact with each hand. There's an air bubble in here.
Okay, I gotta go. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
So you gotta come back. If we'll probably be here tomorrow. So
I think Dana's working anyway, right?
what?
Is Dana working
Dana,
tomorrow?
you're working,
Yeah.
Okay, so because we've got to do the textiles and stuff too. This tool, I'm going to show you how to clean this up. Okay, this tool, you use it the side. So this is typically the motion. You go use the side of your pot to guide down. One hand is pushing up, one hand is pushing down to create this strong, balanced hold. Firm hold so the clay is not pushing you. So I'm going down, I'm cutting. I left a little bit of clay down here so I could demonstrate this a few times until you hear this, and you pivot upward on the cut side of the knife and pull out. Okay, so I went down until you hear, and I pivot upward and then gently, slowly pull out. Then I'm going to cut into it and pull that away. That takes practice, but if you keep practicing it, you'll get it. Once again, I'm going to go down, demonstrate again, so you hear that. Rotate up, pull outward. Okay, I'm going to do another pull up. A little bit of water. The water goes on the inside and the outside. How's that for a little cup, okay? Now,
Reminds you of those French butter dishes.
oh yeah.
Like you had that would be the base, and then you invert the other part, and you can keep your butter soft.
Yep. I'm gonna do one last little cleanup. so you can see.
Keep thinking it's just gonna go.
I know.
Is she just narrowing the contact of the clay to the wheel? I'm getting ahead of myself right now.
It's just whatever shape you want, I guess, right?
Yeah.
You could have it that, or you could have it.
Yeah, so how do you get it off? the
String.
So what I want you ladies to do while you are here, like over the next 4 months, we've got May, June, July, August, September, 5 months we'll say. Practice your cylinders. When I come again, I want you to know cylinders and get them to 4 to 5 inches high. If you could all get there, you're laughing. Okay?
But wide like this though. I mean, your hand has to go in, right?
Yeah, your hand has to go in. But if you can get your walls up to 4 inches high, straight walls, that's an art. I'm putting a little curve into it, but every single, except for a plate, comes from knowing how to make a cylinder. Every shape comes from knowing how to make a cylinder. If you know how to make a cylinder, we can do a lot with that. You can make teapots, you can make vases, you can make anything and everything, cups.